Good morning. Thank you so much for braving the weather and showing your persistence. And this is, I'm not just giving lip service. I really appreciate, because I have now have a taste of working life. So I know how precious Sundays are. And I know you have gazillion things to do, but still you chose to come here. That's very good. I really appreciate that.
It goes for you too.
What choice do I have? Just kidding. Yeah.
I don't think the sound is...
Yeah, it's not working today. So I have to literally shout. And then, I have some, what you call, chest congestion, because from all that dust from yesterday. So do forgive me if I cough, because of shouting.
We'll be patient.
Yeah, it's very relevant to today's topic. Okay, before we begin the chapter or the topic, let's do our sharing. So those who were not here last week, so I emphasize the reason why I continue, having this session. Because first of all, thank you. Thank you. Okay. And the reason I think, for the sake of those who were not here, so I will repeat. I think one reason is that, first of all, if I kind of remind you every time, so that will kind of act as a motivator, so that you will try to apply or integrate what you have learned. So that's the whole purpose. So if we don't try to apply, then so it just remains intellectual level. So we may be very knowledgeable. That's all about it. It does not really help your life. It does not help to enrich your life. But if we are able to try our best, just a small step, taking a small step at a time, then over time you will be able to see the result. It is an incremental progress, but still it is a progress. So that's why if I keep reminding you that, and I believe that you will try to find an opportunity to apply, or when the opportunity arises, you will try to apply your knowledge. So that's one reason. And second reason is, when people share, we also gain insight. When people share, I applied this, we learned, we talked about this in last week's class, and then today there was this occasion or incident where I applied the teaching this way. So what will happen is, the others who have no idea how to apply, or let's say those who think that there is no way to really apply this what we learn in classes, and when they hear about how others apply, maybe I see that's how you apply, or maybe I should do that next time. So that's how you get inspired, as well as you learn how to apply Dharma. So that is why I feel that this is important. And that's why we are spending some time every session before we begin our actual classes. So let's do that today as well. Please. Any volunteers?
I can share. It's
Please.
small, but
Yeah. Please.
So yesterday, so it's very busy at my work, and I'm working on Saturdays right now. And so yesterday I had a very full schedule, and I had it planned out exactly what I was going to do. I had a meeting in the morning that I was going to work on a very specific project in the afternoon at work. And then when I got to my office, a staff in my office had done some work on a project we were working on that she was trying to help, but it made lots of work for me. And so then I had to do that instead of what I was planning on working on. And so I was watching my mind getting a little bit anxious and irritated at the staff. And I thought about going to talk to her to say she should have really asked me first before doing this whole thing. And then I thought, but you know, she was just trying to help. Everything she did, she thought she was, you know, improving something. So I just thanked her later after I went through everything she did. I went and thanked her so much for all the work she did, and that, you know, and I just thought, okay, the work that I was going to do, it'll get done. So it's a small thing, but
it's very true. Remember, we have been week after week we have been emphasizing on, you know, how attitude makes a huge difference. How you look at things, how you perceive things. In your case, instead of, you know, focusing on the negativities, focusing on how inconvenient it has made for you, but if you are able to see that, oh, the other people's intention, or, you know, person actually, intention was to help. It's automatic. I mean, certainly, immediately, let's put it, immediately kind of relaxes you. And that all has to come from mindfulness. If we are not mindfulness, if we are not aware of the situation, if we let our emotion carry, you know, our actions, then it will be too late. In your case, if you have responded differently, by now your relationship with the person would have been spoiled. So now when you go there, she will be like, you know, avoiding you, and you will have some kind of discomfort there. As instead you went and, you know, thanked her, it's different. So she feels that, oh, my work is appreciated. And that case, even then she also feels this sense of, what is the word now? What is the word? That recognition, or, you know, I can perform. What is the term? There is a term.
confidence.
Confidence can be. There is a sense of confidence. Validate. I'm looking for something specific. Never mind. If it comes back, I will. Yeah. So it's very good. So these are what I call on the spot. So not something, you know, you read somewhere and something else. It's not really, there is some Dharma aspect, but it's not really relevant to what we have discussed. But the best part is what we have discussed here, and then you are really able to bring that really good competence. Or competence, sense of competence. That's what I was looking for. That the person also feels, you know, sense of, what is that? Competence. Yeah.
Not quite.
Actually there is the one. Certainly, my mind went kind of blank.
Yes.
Encouragement.
And no, I think it's but somehow where's the competence. Yes, that's the word. Competence. Sense of competence.
I want to bring up one. I have, you know, I'm a therapist, and I think I have for now the most challenging person that I can deal with. It's a young woman who's been coming, and she came to see me 3 times. She comes to see one of my colleagues for medication, and it seems that her whole purpose is to. She's been through all kinds of therapists, and nobody's any good, and people are screwing her up, and so on. And she comes with tremendous amount of anger. My experience with her, at some point I had the thought of, I'm in a tiger's den, because she just claws at you and ridicules you, and this whole thing. So I I've been trying to work on bodhicitta,
Mm.
and I had to calm myself so many times, and finally I just got very quiet, composed myself, and just let her,
Mm. Mm.
And when I could get the bodhicitta, I could see, how, she's stuck, and that's the way she relates. And so I kind of looked at her, that way, and compassion and that sort of thing. And I was very quiet, and, when she stopped talking, I said, it must be very, very difficult. And that made for a split second a bit of difference to her. And then she went back and so on. So now I'm reading about patience. Because again, in Lama Sopa, I'm reading his, Lamrim version. He has he gives a personal slant, to it. And I was reading last night actually about patience. And again, it says, what has helped me also with the bodhicitta is that there are many rude people in the world, many people who behave very, very badly.
Mm.
And we have to, we can't be bothered by that because we get discouraged. It's one of the patients, one of the aspects of patience, we get discouraged. And I remember, like on my computer, both at home and work, there's a Buddha tanka, where he's being, there's all these, entities shooting arrows and so on at him, and he's got these layers and layers and layers. And so I thought, so for round 4 with this person, this is the armor of patience that I'm hoping to get. But this is really difficult.
It is.
Like, she's really good at what she's doing. She's extremely smart. And, part of her, she wants to defeat everybody, but part of her doesn't. So her mind is split. And the one that is suffering, it's really hard to reach. And the only way to reach is just that compassion. So that's what happened. But it's just really, really... It's new territory for me to go to that extent, because she's pretty good at what she does. Pretty good tiger,
Yeah, sometimes, of course, compassion is always the answer. But sometimes what happens is, why we have this difficulty is because we don't want to be the, if I use the word, loser. When somebody says something, you want to say something else, so you don't want to back down. But if you're able to back down and, let the other person win, that's why I said, may I be able to offer the victory. So if you're able to do that, everything went quiet. Let me relate a story. So this was, I'm not going to name the person. So this was related to me. So it is at the center. So they were organizing a trip somewhere, and it is based on, I think, first come, first serve or something. And that person who somehow, didn't really, I think it didn't occur that, you have to follow this thing. And then there was this member, she was so cross. Is that, why, it's like this, why didn't you, give according to the what do you call it, the time of registering. So really angry and was this thing. And then the other person suddenly realized that was the mistake. So, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, I'm so sorry. Suddenly the person was like speechless. Because the other person was expecting a confrontation, but the reaction was something different. It's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, I should have. Certainly there was no. I think the person was literally speechless. And since then, that person has been very nice to this person. So you see, if they say, or try to explain yourself, why you did this, why you did this thing, then it will go on. Other will say something else, and then there will be an argument, exchange of words, which may result in something else. So you see, if you are able to just say sorry. Sometimes this word, is in a way it's very powerful, but we don't want to say that. We don't want to use that. If you say sorry, everything, even I noticed that when you are driving, and if you are on the wrong side, you something this thing, and when you just do this, just show your hand, person quieten down. Even when you are driving and somebody, what do you call, cut you off or something, some mistake, he shouldn't be turning as this thing, but the other person raise a hand at you, you somehow is okay, is acceptable. But otherwise, if the person didn't do anything and go like this, then you will be like boiling. So these tiny gestures makes a huge difference. Okay. Yeah.
I have experienced
Mhm.
to the generosity and the mindfulness.
Okay.
I was walking to my bus stop morning, and there was one guy with the ticket, and he was in coma for so many days and need money, need help. So I was going to give money, looking at my purse, and said, okay, I'm going to give $5 today for this guy. It's early morning cold. And I'm looking at my purse, and while walking to my bus stop, and I couldn't find $5. Every time I touched, I got $20. So I was walking to my bus stop, oh, I can't find $5. Then I told myself, oh, shame on me. $5. I'm looking for $5, but I have $20. Not $20. So I feel so bad. Okay, if someone is asking, generosity is something that someone has to be there at the other end to receive it. So then I remind myself, and I went back half from my bus stop. I might miss the bus, but forget it. Today I'm going to practice this generosity. So I went back and get that $20 to him. That guy looked at it. Oh my God! Oh my God! He thought nobody gave that money. So he said, oh my God. And then I said, this $20 is oh my God for him, but for me it's nothing. Because, so that tells how stingy I was, even though I have a generosity, kind of practicing generosity, but back in my mind there is a stinginess that I'm going to get only $5. So that, and then I didn't miss my bus, so I realized that don't miss the opportunity. If there is someone who is
Very good.
need help, no matter whether he use it for whatever, but from my heart, I have to practice this in order to be a perfection of generosity.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I rejoice in your merit. And also I know the next time, if I need money, I know who to approach.
We'll help you with your practice.
$20 today I have experienced this morning. When my daughter asked me, oh, I have my grandson, they bought the ticket for a movie. And my daughter says, oh, Mom, do you have $5? Oh no, $11 or something, just for tickets to go to the movie. And I said, no, I just, I cannot say no. I don't know why. I just even though I did my purse and not there. Oh, it's in my car. I left in my car. So, normally she don't go, like without makeup or something, dress, and she never go. Today she come out, oh, where you park your car? I park up towards the gallery. And then she run after me. She ran after me. Oh, I looked at this. She asked for $11. Then I had this $20. So, oh, can I have that $20? I thought, no, I don't want to give $20. Then I thought, oh yeah, maybe they need some snacks or whatever. So I gave it to her. She was so happy. Oh, thank you. I'll give you back tomorrow. That's my experience to $20 here.
I already found 2 now.
Other people to meet,
I should have more discussions,
Fundraising should not be.
Yeah, shouldn't be a problem now. Maybe we invite them and then we just, give a talk on this perfection of generosity, and then after that we just pass around that. Yeah, I think, last week we also talked about this one. It is all about intention, the intention to really let go, really willing to give. That's why we talk about, a billionaire. If a billionaire gives 10,000, of course, 10,000 is a lot. But if he only gives 10,000, that's not really much. But one who has only $100, and if he gives $20, that's something, you see. You can really let go of. You have so little, but still you are willing to give. And I think we see on YouTube those social experiments where they, go and give money to homeless people. And there were people like, the first thing they do is go and buy food and then distribute to other homeless people. This is really act of generosity. You have so little, instead of, what is that word? Holding that. You just want to share. It's so good. So that's the perfection of, that's the real practice of generosity. Of course, the bodhisattvas are like this. They are willing to give anything, anytime. So when we were young, we used to hear stories about these bodhisattvas where, they give everything. People will go and ask for, first, of course, material things they give away. Even they give away their children, their wife, everything. They even give away their eyes and all that. Of course, we are not at that level. But there are many things we can do. So, do this, and then, remember we said that if we familiarize ourselves in this kind of particular action, it becomes a habit. So if you engage in generosity more often, you become more willing to give. It kind of attacks your stinginess. So when the time comes to give, you don't feel much. That's good. You want to share something, Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm just so that just reminded me of the stories of I've worked downtown for 25 years, and there's a lot of people who are asking for $1 here and $1 there downtown, and I don't give it because it just don't. And I had my hands in my pocket, and someone asked me for some, and I said no, and I realized I had a change in my pocket, and I was lying. And I just pulled out what I had and gave it to him, and the man had like this one tooth, and thanked me. And I saw him later on in the evening, and he starts asking, "Do you have a?" And he stops and he just lit up and walked up. But to me, it was that smile.
Yeah. Yes.
He recognized me, and clearly it made a difference, if not in his livelihood, for financially, in his mind, and that was really important to me. But anyway, I suppose part of the reason that I also gave was, and I don't, because I've missed classes, I'm not sure if we've talked at all about viewing everyone as all beings as your mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I struggle with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because mother is like that.
Yeah. Of course, mother is just an example. So
Right.
whoever you are close with, you can start with that.
Right.
If your
I think
father is,
I don't have the experience of a mother taking care of me in a way that would bring about wanting to repay their kindness. So I got on YouTube and I started watching videos of animals and insects, and so I bring this up in case anyone else struggles with it. And honestly, it really, really helped. And I think that kind of helped then, even just with this interaction, you know, wanting to give with this person. Like I have these visuals of, you know, it's just some of the things that these insects even do to protect their little babies. So I just thought I would throw that out because I'm sure I'm not the only one that struggles with that concept.
Yeah, I understand
I
that.
think you're right. I think one of the ways I look at it is, even if you can't look at it as a full, I thank my mother for just giving birth to me. The fact that she gave birth and I'm alive.
Oh yeah,
You know, and
I
so,
understand
you
that,
know, you
but
kind of,
I just needed more.
It is-
It wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for me. I just needed more, so I thought it was.
Yeah, I hear that often, especially of this concept of, you know, recognizing your, recollecting mother's kindness. Yeah, many people struggle that. So that is not with the Asian community, I would say. But some they have difficulty. But if you really want to work on it, I think one way is, as Cassie mentioned, you know, even your mother actually carried you for 9 months. At that time, you know, have to avoid so many things. You know, the food, if the mother likes a spicy food, she cannot eat. She has to kind of sacrifice. And then the Tibetan, of course, the practice is different. Babies sleep with the mother. It's not like, you know, you have a separate baby room there and, you know, night you just let the baby sleep there. It's not like this. Tibetan practice, mother sleep together with the baby. And then when baby pees, we don't have diapers, those days. And then mother will change the side. You know, wherever the bed is bed, mother will sleep. And then, you know, transfer the baby on the dry part. So that we have all experienced. Most of the Tibetans, now of course younger generation, I don't know. But our generation, we have experienced that. So when you think of that, then when you think that, and then it will lead to another many kind acts which you actually have forgotten. And then you will able to, but of course that's if you really want to recollect mother's kindness. But if you don't want to go there, it's okay. You must have somebody in your life who has been kind to you. So you just take that an example and then reflect. If your uncle, let's say, has been very kind to you, reflect on the kindness of your uncle. And then other people have been like that, because we talk about countless lives. So that person, another person, all this have, one time it has taken that kind of role in providing us love and affection. So that's why, this year I have, this life, I may not have experienced this love from this particular person, but it is possible that in other lifetime I might have experienced. So that will kind of, you know, pave the path to, you know, kind of neutralize that kind of strong feelings. That's one way to do. Okay, thank you. That was a very, interesting and discussion. So today we are going to talk about the perfection of patience. I think we can relate to all kinds of incidents of losing our patience. Let me see whether I have my notes here. So, of course, these 6 perfections, we are talking as a part of Bodhisattva's practice. So you have generated bodhicitta, and your goal is to achieve enlightenment and benefit sentient beings, all sentient beings. So just having a mere thought of helping won't really achieve much, will not accomplish much. You won't be able to really benefit sentient beings. But in order to really benefit them, you have to practice. You have to take part, or what do you call it? You have to engage in practices so that it can lead you to enlightenment. And then, you will be able to benefit sentient beings. So there are so many practices. So it is all kind of compacted in 6 practices, and we have discussed in one of first class why the 6. And perfection of patience is very important. Of course, we will later discuss what patience means. But even if we just base our understanding of the conventional patience, losing our anger, losing our temper, that's a big obstacles to bodhisattvas. First of all, you committed to benefit others, and then when others do not, act according to your what you call wish, or when they fall short of your expectation, if you get angry, so it doesn't make sense. You have pledged to benefit them, and then you're getting upset. So that's one thing. And then later we will discuss. And when it comes to bodhisattva's practice, it is about overcoming the real enemy. So physical enemy, what do you call conventional enemy? You can think why they are enemy. So normally, why we develop aversion, why we develop hatred towards somebody is that we have this. Normally in the text it says 9 reasons. This person has harmed me in the past, harming me now, and will harm me in future. This person has harmed my friends and relatives in the past, are harming now, will harm in the future. And then the last 3 reasons is that this person is helping or benefiting my enemy in the past, benefited or helped my enemy in the past, helping now, being kind to my enemies, being kind to those whom I regard as enemy, and will do the same in the future. So these are 3 reasons. It is very true actually. When you bring to your mind somebody you don't like, you kind of hate that person, and you kind of analyze why this hatred. You will find that is one of the 9 reasons. Mostly like he harmed me or she harmed me in the past. But harm doesn't mean physical harm. All sorts of harms. Said something about me, did something to me. So these are the reasons we think about. So that's why we say that we are very good at analytical meditation. It's just that, our direction is on the other side. When it comes to concentration meditation, it is quite difficult. We are not that familiar. But when it comes to analytical meditation, we are really good. We have full experience. So there is no reason actually why you don't want to use analytical meditation when it comes to the actual practice. So, from the Buddhist perspective, our real enemy is the afflictive emotions, especially anger or hatred, to be concise. So there is this view which I don't really know. Of course, there are this view that anger is okay, but hatred is not. So anyway, you can argue about, we can debate on that. But anger as general, it is considered not really good. the reason why those who are the proponent, is it? A proponent of anger being good. They said, because of with the anger you can fight for justice and all that. But you have to think, when you are fighting for it, what is the intention? What is your, at that time, what is the motivation? If it's really angry and doing that thing, it's not. Even though you think that you are doing for a good cause. But if you are really, at that moment, it is that the triggering emotion is anger, then it is very hard to say that it is something good. It is very difficult. We say that, with anger we can do some good things. It is very difficult. When you really check what is propensity. You may get angry and then you say, angry of an issue or something, unjust treatment or something, and then, I need to help. I need to help them receive justice. So if the intention, if it is kind of motivated by that kind of intention to help that person, I think it is okay. Even though it is started by anger, but the actual intention is still, something noble. But it is very difficult to separate the two. When you're really fighting for it, is all that anger there. So it is quite tricky. So anyway, anger as general from the Buddhist perspective, it is our enemy. It is the one that really, destroys life in this very life. You may have, experienced losing your friends. One time you were so close, now no longer close. You cannot even stand for 1 second. How did that came about? If you really check, there must have been a moment of anger. At that time, you said something, and then there's exchange, and then there's this irreparable damage. And divorce. Many, I think, it triggers from that anger. But I'm not saying all, but there are many cases. Imagine one time you cannot live without the person, even for 5 minutes. You are so inseparable. But then another time you cannot even stand 5 minutes. So how did this happen? There are many causes, but the one that really kind of mature, that's not really a good word. That really, what is the word now? Overrides. Anyway,
What's your thought?
Yes, I'm trying to say that, there may be small reasons, but the one that say, I have enough, is actually
predominant.
That caused that thing, that triggered that thing, You may have some exchange there, and then one time, you are so angry and you said things. And then the other person say, I had enough of you. That's it.
Most potent.
Potent moment. So my point, you get my point. So that is why, this is talking about just this life, relationship with children, and even your children and parent, your partners, with workplace, your colleagues, your boss. All this anger is causing. And I have told you my own story when I first went to monastery, how embarrassing that was. There, the ordinary monk, of course we don't know inside, but seemingly it's ordinary, whereas, I have this title. And there he was laughing at me when I, retorted. He said something and I was so angry. And when I responded, he laughed. That's when I realized how shallow you are, how shallow I was, and so embarrassed. So you see, anger, never good. But of course you can say that kind of, I learned my lesson. And then when it talks about the future life, anger destroys our merits. Anger, triggers negative actions. With anger, we will engage in negative actions. We may engage in killing, we may engage in all the three of the body is possible. Because you are so angry, you will engage in all this. It's common. We even have this term, isn't it? Passion, crime of passion. When you're so angry and then you killed. And then stealing, just to hurt the person. You are so angry, you want to destroy the person's wealth. You do that. And then, of course, sexual misconduct, just to revenge or just to teach the person a lesson, because it's all propelled by anger. And then, of course, of the speech, high speech, very common. When you are angry, you will say all kinds of things. So that's why in Chunjuk it says, Simsung, it is not really relevant, but you can put it there. Simsung Dushu Ma Dobe, Dushu Ma Bu Chishi Gwes. So it says that we don't need many practices. Only the practice to watch our mind is good enough. So that's, when you are able to watch your mind and then prevent the mind from being influenced or being controlled by all these negative emotions such as anger. So even in Shantideva says that if you are able to defeat your enemy by killing, it says it's nothing to be shout about. It's just that you are just, it's like piercing a corpse. But if you are really able to attack and overcome or have victory over your anger, so that's the real hero.
And
Yes.
Shantideva said too, that only anger that's virtuous is the anger to destroy ignorance.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I thought I had read in Shantideva that he said, the anger to destroy ignorance is the only virtuous anger. That
Yeah.
the rest is not.
Yes.
Destroying ignorance,
Yeah, it makes sense. Yes. So if you really see, how much destruction anger has caused, and then if you get angry at your own anger or ignorance, then at least we can excuse. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we are going to discuss. So there are 5 kind of subtopics. First, we will discuss what patience is, and then how to begin the cultivation of patience, and then how many types of patience are there, and then the main thing, the essence, how to practice patience, and then the final summary. So what is patience? So the conventional understanding is, if somebody says nasty things to you and nasty things to us, then if we are able to bear it. So that is our understanding. But here it is more than that. So that is one part of patience. One part of patience is to really bear others' harm. But patience is more than that. It's not just about bearing others, the harms caused by others, but it is also about accepting difficulties. So this is, of course, Bodhisattva's practice. When Bodhisattva engage in the paths and practices, there are so many hurdles and hardships. But to be able to voluntarily accept the challenges and the hardship is also considered as patience. So here it says the ability to remain firm and steadfast, to not be overwhelmed by the adverse situation or condition. So adverse situation and condition, this one can include harm caused by others, as well as the difficulties that we normally face, especially in our practice. When we are striving on our journey, spiritual journey, there are many challenges. So if we are able to bear that, not grudgingly but voluntarily, then it's considered as patience. So of course, in order to do that, we need to reflect on what are the disadvantages and what are the faults or flaws of not cultivating patience. And then if we are able to apply antidotes, let's say for like the second one is the voluntarily accepting difficulties. So if we don't have that, we will be discouraged. We won't be able to progress. The minute we are faced with a difficulty, we just want to give up. So for that one, we need to apply that antidote. That okay, I have to bear these challenges because this whatever hardship I'm experiencing is just temporary. But there is a long-term benefit to that. There is a long-term benefit for enduring the temporary hardship. So this way you apply all these antidotes. So that's when you are able to do that. That is like perfecting the perfecting the patience. And of course, this is the famous stanza. How could you find enough leather to cover all of the earth's surface? Just enough leather to cover your feet is like having enough to cover the entire earth. Similarly, how can I combat all external enemies? All I need to do to repel them is to transform my own mind. So if you are able to do that, that is the perfection of patience. It is not that you have to go and defeat each and every external enemies. That would be impossible to do. Do you have so many enemies? Or it's just 1, 2, 3? Those who have so many enemies, no way. But of course, this is just we're talking about enemy. But in terms of even hardship and hurdles, barriers and all that, there is no way we can change our external situations, external conditions. But if we are able to transform here, then it is like covering the whole earth surface with the leather. So this is one of my favorite. Sading deda koyo tinyi kowe kalan lamde samji kowe ni sading tamje yodan das. So now how to begin the cultivation of patience? How do we begin now? So now we know, we have some idea about what patience is, and then we also have some idea, it is not good to have. So now the question is, how do we begin? Before even we go on to the actual practice, how do we begin? So in Lamrim it says that you begin by contemplating on the benefits of patience and the disadvantages of anger. So there is a reason for that. So if you contemplate on the flaws, disadvantages of anger, and then if you at the same time you reflect on the benefits, then you want to cultivate that, because you realize all that shortfalls, all that flaws of getting angry. You don't want to engage in that. And on the other hand, after seeing all the benefits and advantages of practicing patience, you want to cultivate that. So that is the logic behind, the contemplating on the benefits of patience and the disadvantages of anger. You have noticed that most of the practices, it all begins with this, because this is for us to motivate. It is to motivate us to do the practice. So when we see something that, this is such a nice, let's say iPhone. When you see the iPhone, this feature, that feature, it can do this, it can do that, this is so good, you want to get it. Even buying cars, you always, look at the pros and cons. You want to compare. This car has this feature, this car has this feature, and then you want to decide. When you see the qualities of that, then you want to pursue that. So that's the reason. So let's see just a glimpse.
That's all. That wasn't it.
Just suka hira pada tuar benda. You just suka. You see. What do you want? Suka.
So we can relate to this, isn't it?
I was sitting here hoping that my picture wouldn't come up. Those are almost painfully familiar. It's like I cringe at looking at it.
Yeah. So this is something we can all say, I've been there, I've done it, isn't it? Maybe not you. Yeah, so you can see that anger, it says that it clouds your judgment, anger. You can see that very clearly here. What do you gain from this, punching onto your keyboard and throwing the computer out? You get sore hand, and then the guy jumped after his computer. So this is a clear case of, where it really clouds your judgment. You are not thinking rationally. And then I'm sure that is later when they must be regretting. Now I have to go and buy a new computer. Isn't it?
Not if you're still angry, because it's gonna cost you, so many times. That's the motivation right there.
Yeah. Of course, if punching that and all that, if it helps, if it solves the problem, why not? By all means, go ahead. But it does not. It does not. Yeah. And there is this, I read in social psychology about this catharsis, where people vent their anger, and they did research. And they realized, of course, there's this view that, if you vent your anger, if you bring that up, whatever it is bottled in there, if you bring that out, it is so good. That's why they have these programs where you can pay money, go there and break things. Yeah, really. They will give you a bed, and then they have these old things there. You just go and smash everything just to let out. And they think that it is very good. But of course, temporarily, at that very moment, you may feel kind of, relieved. But what they found is that those who engage in catharsis often tend to get angry easily, more often. So this actually supports that, familiarity breeds. No, that's not the one. Contempt, that's something else. Yeah. So, if you familiarize yourself with something, then it becomes your habit. The more you engage in that, it becomes easier for you. So that's one of the faults that it really clouds your judgment, and we can relate that very well. And in anger, in the moment of anger, we will say things that we will regret forever. This must have happened to all of us, You wish that, you didn't say that. There were many times, even when I had experience, that, I wish I didn't said that, I wish I didn't do that. So because at that time, because we are not mindful, we were not aware of this anger, so we kind of, carried away by anger, and then, just actually your life or your relationship or whatever, it just destroyed in just in seconds, just because of that. Remember, what is it showing in the year? Remember this picture? We talked about it, didn't we? What do you see here? Nails and planks with all that mark. So this is the consequences of anger. It scars the person's heart. Remember we talked about, I think during the high speech we talked about Tamla nongar meja meaning tumburtups. So I think there's a story behind this. So there was this boy sent to a master to learn patience or something. So the lesson was that every time when he gets angry, when he loses his temper, he is to hammer one nail on the plank. And then, of course, on the early days, every day there's many incidents of nailing. And then, slowly it reduced. And then there came a day where the boy said, okay, no, not today, not even one single moment of anger. And then they said, okay, now he says that every time you get anger, just pull the nails. And he pulled all the nails, and then the master asked, what do you see now? All those marks left there, damage has already been done. So we may apologize, we may say sorry, but it is never the same. All that harsh word you have said to the other person, it always scars the person. So that's why holding on to anger, this is very good. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's what we do. We get so angry with the other person, this strong hatred, and here you have difficulty sleeping, You cannot even sleep thinking about the other person. There the other person is snoring. That's very true. it does not, your intention is to cause harm to the other person. But it does not. What it does is actually it causes you the harm. And there is another. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Oh, it's 10 past 11. Let's break. Oh, please, that biscuit is for you all from Anthony. Yeah, please. I forgot to do that. Yeah, before we go on to the next one, I wanted to add on one thing. So it's every text it talks about, when it talks about the disadvantages, it talks about the anger destroying your merit. So what I wanted to focus is, because there's this view that, if you get angry at a bodhisattva, then it says that, just one moment can destroy the merits that you have cultivated over eons. So this one, of course, it says if you get angry at a bodhisattva. But for us, ordinary people, we don't have the clairvoyance to know who is bodhisattva and who is not. So I think this is very important in that sense that, it kind of guide us to be very careful with what we say and what we do when we are interacting in terms of in relation to other people, because that person may be a bodhisattva. So that's why in texts sometimes they use the analogy of amber buried by ashes. So on the surface it looks like ashes, layer of layer of ashes, yeah. And if you just walk on it, it will burn you. You don't see that, the amber, that burning coal or whatever is there. But if you step on it, it will burn you. Likewise, we don't have the clairvoyance. We cannot judge who is bodhisattva and who is not. Of course, only those Buddhas and those who have clairvoyance can tell, oh, he is bodhisattva, she is bodhisattva, he is not. So for us, it is to be very, very careful who we get angry at and angry with. Is there such a angry with or angry at? Angry with, both, okay. So that I wanted to highlight that. So now we go on to the divisions of patience. How many types of patience are there? So the first one is the patience of disregarding harm done to you. This is mainly in relation to other person, mainly relation to your enemy, the person whom you had difficulty with. So when they cause harm to you, that is, to practice patience, to tolerate, to let go of their action. And then the second one is the patience of accepting suffering. So as I mentioned earlier, when bodhisattvas start or embark on this journey, there is a lot of difficulties. But using all kinds of reasoning and logic and reminding yourself of the purpose and all that, so when you are able to bear all that suffering and challenges, so that is the patience of accepting suffering. So it says being able to voluntarily and courageously bear the difficulties that may be experienced in the course of bodhisattva practice. So like say coming here, it is so difficult to come, especially in this kind of weather. First, it's hard to drive because the road is icy. You have to be very careful. And then even walking here and then sitting here for 2 hours, there is a lot of difficulties, hardship. But if you're able to bear that, what you all have been doing, so that is considered the patience of accepting suffering. And then the final, the patience of certitude about reality. So there's various translations. Some others they translate as the patience of abiding by Dharma. So basically this is the kind of ultimate patience. So basically this is about studying Dharma, how to get to the enlightenment. In order to get there, first you need to know the paths and practices. And then you need to engage in practices to meditation. And then of course, realizing that the ultimate cause is the misconception of reality. Because of ignorance, we are having this difficulty. So understanding the ultimate nature of the harmer, the person harmed, and the action of harming. So this is really understanding, looking from all the perspectives and understanding, having to gain what is called the holistic view of the situation. Normally when we get angry with somebody else, that is 100% the other person's fault. We tend to, what is the word? Today I'm struggling so much for these words, I don't know why. We kind of undermine our own role, disregard or we play our own role very light, minimize our own role, and everything is other person's fault. And then of course deep down it comes to your karma, and karma is because of affliction, and affliction is because of ignorance. Ignorance is what we are talking here is about not having the understanding of reality. So it is basically boils down to insight into emptiness. So when we have the insight into emptiness, so we are able to, the other harmer is mainly, it does not, this enemy, we will label the person as enemy, and then because of that label, it is the person to be, a challenge or, to harm or whatever it is. So when we have insight into emptiness, the grip will be loosened. Oh, there is no real thing as enemy. There's no real thing as harm. Sometimes when people say things about you, it will be not effective until you accept that. You take it. If somebody says all kinds of bad things, if you don't hear it, you are okay. Only when you hear that, then you started to boil up. So this actually shows that actual word has no potential actually to harm you. You are the one who is making it harmful because you take it. So that's why there are some practices where, may I be able to be like a piece of wood when somebody hurls criticism at me. That would be so nice, you see. You just let it in. First of all, you don't let it in. Even if it gets in, just let it out. So there is a nice stanza by Shantideva, basically saying that, why are you so worked up by others' criticism when there are other people who are singing praise of you? And likewise, why are you so, what do you call the conceit, feeling this conceit when you hear praise of you? Because there are other people who are criticizing you. So this is very true. So the third one is the main one. So this is really goes deeper than the first two. So now the juicy part. How do we practice patience? We all want to practice patience. So Shantideva, or actually based on Shantideva mainly, so it in the Shantideva's chapter, it is taught according to different subtopics. So he says on the analysis of object, anger is unjustified. So you are analyzing why we are getting angry. Then you analyze the object and see why. And then it says that actually when you really, analyze that, this anger is unjustified. There's no reason. So first analysis is whether the object has self-control or not. When the other person harmed you or says nasty things at you, so you analyze the other person, that object, the object of your anger. Is he doing because he has self-control, or somebody else is kind of compelling him to do? So what do you think? Actually, the person didn't want to say nasty things. That's why we regret. So it is same, you yourself, from our own experience, we can tell that we didn't want to harm others. We didn't want to say nasty things. That's why after the incidents, when our consciousness or this is back, when we are ourselves once again, we realize that it was a mistake. You realize that you have crossed the limit. You realize that, I should not have said that. I should not have done that. This suggests that, you don't really want to do, but something else is propelling you to do. You become kind of influenced by something. So what is that? That is the other person's affliction. Like us, the other person is also influenced by his own afflictions, by his own anger. So that is why the person said or did or whatever the harm he caused. So when we really analyze that, the person is not doing because he wants to, he has the control. It is because he is compelled to do by by his afflictions. And now it says that another analysis is whether whatever harm that other person caused, is it advantageousness or inherency? Is it the nature? It is his nature or not? If it is the nature of that person to cause harm, then it is unjustified. Because it says that an analogy is that we don't complain about fire burning our fingers or hands. When there is fire, if we put in our hands, it burns. And that is the nature of fire. To burn is the nature of the fire. So if it is a nature, it is not something temporary, it is the nature of that person to cause us harm, then it says that it is again unjustified. You cannot help if it's the nature. Then the analysis of whether the harm is direct or indirect. I like this one. Ngobo la so terkunde kedi pemba la thona tayang shedan ki lebe nyena tinyi la nyerik. Okay. So now you analyze whether the harm you receive, is it caused directly by the person or indirectly? And it says if it is, you think that it is harm that caused direct, or I don't know how to put it there. Basically, I think first the analogy is better. So it says if somebody hits you with a stick, so who do you get angry at? Do you get angry at the stick or at the person. So if you are going to get angry at something that causes the harm directly, then he said that it should be the stick you should be angry at. Because the stick is the one who really caused the harm, the pain. It is not the person. The person is secondary. But then we will argue that no, the stick doesn't work alone. You need to have somebody as a wielder. If nobody wields that stick and what do you call so if the person doesn't intend to cause you harm, the stick won't do it because it doesn't have the intention. So it is the person. We normally argue that way. In that case, it says that then you shouldn't get angry at the person, because it says that it is not the person that motivates that. It is his anger that triggered the person to harm you. So if you are not getting angry at the object that causes you direct harm, then you should not get angry at the secondary one as well, because that person is also propelled by his anger. So you should instead be angry at his anger. It's so good, isn't it? So logical. So this is all, when we have difficulty, when we experience this kind of harm. So we sit down and then use this. Why am I angry? Why all this? And then you analyze all this one by one. Is the karma caused by this one or this one? Does it do with freedom, full freedom, or is it compelled by his anger? So when you are able to contemplate on this, analyze this, and you can bring your own experiences. When you get angry, how does it? You say things, you do things. We always say that when we apologize to another person, oh, I'm so sorry, I was so angry at that time. So this shows that it is not you. It is anger that made you do that. We do that all the time. Oh, I was so angry at that time, so that's why, all these words came out. I didn't mean, So when we apologize for other person, if that is the reason, then they should apply to the other person as well. Like we are compelled by our anger, the other person also was compelled by their or his or her anger. So we should not really get angry at the person. So anger at the person is unjustified. And then it says, when you analyze the cause that impels the harm doers, again it says this anger is unjustified. So this one is really reflecting on our own karma. If it says, "Tagi ngunje simjin la denda wayi nyoba che, tewe simjin sejeba thala nyoba di jungri." So it is saying that it is our karma, what we are experiencing. Remember, from the Buddhist point of view, every experience is a result of our own karma. So if we had not created the karma to experience that experience, whatever that is, to experience that harm from the other person, no matter how many times the person tries, you won't be experiencing it. So that's why here, this is very good. If you are a Buddhist, this is very helpful when things don't go your way, when you are faced with difficulty. So when you're able to think about this karma thing, why I'm experiencing this. Then I must have, of course, in this life, I think I have already emphasized on this. Sometimes, when people don't understand how karma works, when they think that karma is all about this life, then you have this question of how come, Donald Trump is so successful? Why he gets to become a president? When he is, behaving so badly. Of course, that's interpretation here. So he may have been, not behaved that well in this life. But who knows? In the past life, he has also taken countless births. Maybe at that time, he must have created some virtue, and that's what he is experiencing now. And then we say that, this and this person, his whole life committed to Dharma practice, and now look at him or her having so much difficulty, all this. So that's actually when you don't really understand the karma, how karma works. So that is thinking karma only within this lifetime. Then you cannot go beyond that. Whatever you see in this life that's all you are trying to explain. That's difficult. But we have to bring karma, and we have to take into account of the karma that we have cultivated in the past, many lifetimes. So we may be experiencing something now, even though we have really tried our best. Maybe we are trying to exhaust the negativities that we have experienced in the past. So I have this firm belief that, like great practitioners, they pass away with all kinds of sicknesses, which you wonder, how come? My own teacher passed away of Parkinson. Parkinson was terrible. You lose control of you lose all their strength. At a later stage, you couldn't even swallow. There's no control of your body. If it falls down, if there's nobody around, finish, cannot wake up. The strength in the nerves, I think, the person loses the strength. And you wonder, such a great Lama, practice all the time. Why? And there are many cases, many of these great Lamas pass away from cancer and all that. So these are, I believe, that, so they are really, of course, they were also one time ordinary. They had also cultivated negativities. So during this time, they are really, they did a lot of purification, and they are trying to exhaust the negativities that they have created in the past. That is the potential negativities that can bring them to lower realms. But instead, through their practice, they just experience, lighten that consequences, lighten the result, and then experience in this very lifetime. And that's how they exhaust. So this is important. So karma, sometimes, if you don't understand karma, and then you do practice, come to classes, all this, go to temple, all this, and then when things happen, there is no such thing as karma. I don't want to be Buddhist. There are many cases, especially who don't study. Only those, go to temple, offer incense and light on special days, and then they think, how come? And there also, I think this question comes from other faith. I go to church every Sunday. How come? Why me? This kind of question. But in Buddhist, I think it is rare. But there are people who do all this, and then when there's the result that they expected does not happen, and then they don't want to be a Buddhist. That's because you don't understand how karma works. That's important. We should know better than this, because we have been having classes. So this is about an analysis of the cause that impels the harm doer actually we should feel really bad about it. Because we have this karma, and the other person has to say this, another person is actually committing negative karma. So in a way, it is like we are responsible for the other person's negative actions. So if we are able to think this way, you see, the moment we are able to think this way, anger really shrinks. Oh, I am responsible for that person's anger. Now no longer the other person, you see, he is the bad one. Suddenly it really subsides. So it's very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we really practice. So this is about now the analysis on the subject itself. It's yourself. So it says when you analyze yourself, then anger is also unjustified. Because here the reason is that our deep down aspiration is happiness, especially bodhisattvas aiming to achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. But our action, whatever we are doing, our action, does it lead to that goal? Does it fulfill our fundamental aspiration or desire? When we get angry, we are destroying our happiness. We are creating karma for suffering. So that kind of contradicts what you wish. There is incongruence between your aspiration and your action. There is this gap. You want to be happy, but you are cultivating, or not cultivating, creating causes for suffering. So that's one reason saying that I should not get angry, because I want happiness, and what I am doing is not what that, or not that brings or that produces happiness. So if I want happiness, I should practice patience instead. And of course, when we lose our temper, when we get angry, it is negative karma. And then that, with that one, it itself is a negative karma. That is like the motivation. With that, who knows what more it will lead to. So if we are not careful, then it will create more negativities that may result in being born in lower realms. If you are being in lower realms, there is no escape for eons. So now on the analysis of basis, anger is justified. So that's why for this one, I have a picture here, sandcastle. Of course, sandcastle can be used as an analogy for many things, but I use it here to portray the fragility in so just a small wave, this can be destroyed. So in Shantideva's text, it says that our body itself is so fragile. Let's say if somebody pierce, or somebody use a knife or whatever it is. If our body is made of rocks or something hard, they cannot harm us. But our body is so fragile that just the needle can just a needle can cause us harm and pain. So that's why he's saying that Shantideva is saying that you cannot blame 100% on the other person, because you are also responsible for having this kind of fragile body. If your body is not so fragile, then other person won't even attempt to cause you harm. The analogy used here is that if you have a wound that you have to be very careful of, and if you walk in the crowd, definitely it is going to cause pain and harm, because they will be jostling and all that. So the minute somebody touch you, you will feel the pain. So it is because of this condition. Otherwise, nobody will be causing you any harm in that sense. But because you have this problem, this fragility, this wound, you get affected. So because of that, saying that you cannot blame the other person. Does it make sense? Yeah, this is what we have talked about. And then one's commitment. So we have already touched on this. So it's now is based on our commitment. What commitment have we made? Remember, we generated bodhicitta. This is for the bodhisattvas, yeah? So you have generated bodhicitta, cultivated bodhicitta to liberate other sentient beings. So you have this huge commitment to help others, benefit others. And then if you cannot even tolerate a tiny harsh word of sentient beings, then how is saying? So when things happens, then this is very effective in that sense. So what is your motivation? You have already committed to help others, to achieve enlightenment. But getting angry at other person is not going to produce that. It is really opposite to what you have committed. So if you think through this line of reasoning, that will help us to really reduce our intensity of anger and animosity against other people. So now that concludes the first part of the patience. So now it talks about how to practice the patience of accepting suffering. So first of all, as I said, why do we need to accept suffering? Why do we need to accept difficulties? So it's saying that we are born in this samsara, this existence, and pain, suffering, challenges are the part and parcels of our life. If it was something else, something to be perfect, if we are to have perfect life, no hurdles, no challenges, no suffering, then of course there's no need to accept all these challenges. And what will happen is, will that solve the problem? If not tolerating the patient, what am I saying? If not tolerating or accepting the suffering helps to solve our problems, then by all means we should do that. But it's saying that it actually, first of all, the original problem will be there. Not only will be there, it magnifies. This we can also relate in our own life. You have two different people going through same suffering, same pain, whereas one is okay. It doesn't, look at it as something major. In India, when we have to go to government offices, we have to queue early in the morning. I remember those days when I traveled to Malaysia. So those days, I don't know whether it's the same or not. We need to get what is called the written visa. That is the requirement, prerequisite for applying for Malaysian visa. So in order to get that, those days we have to go to apply. We have to apply in Delhi. First, we are holding this RC, the registration card. So first, before you leave, you have to get a departure stamp to say that you are leaving for Delhi. Once you arrive in Delhi, there is the office now, RTO, is it RTO or FRO? I think FRO, Foreign Registration Office. You have to go there to queue. And I used to go at 7 early morning. Of course, they open only at 9, yeah? So you queue there from 7. And then by 9, they will start it to open, and then you go. That is only to get the, what is called the arrival stamp, that you have arrived in Delhi. With that, you have to queue another and then file the form. And then where you have to go? To another place, Home Ministry. There you go in the early morning, again same thing. You wait there whole morning, and you around 10:30, 11, you will get to see the officer. So he will go through this, and then he will sign whatever it is. Then you have to wait. 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. then you will get an envelope, which is sealed. You are not supposed to look at it. With that, it's not done yet. You have to go back to FRO. Tomorrow, another day of queuing. Same things at 7 a.m. You queue there. At 9:30, you will get in there. Of course, you have to wait for your number and all that. Finally, the officer will see and all this. So you may get, it may be approved, it may not be approved. After all that, you go to the Malaysian consulate. And then there's no guarantee. They will say, oh no, we are not going to issue. All that is wasted. But we do it. But here, if people are asked to wait for 3 hours, wow, why is that? Why so slow? So you see, it's relative.
It's also familiarity.
Yeah. So how we used to. So what I'm trying to say is, point here is that, you see, problem may be same, situation may be same, but if your mentality is kind of attuned to that, it is okay, you can bear it. Even though you grumble a bit, but it is doable. So that's why this famous line, Shantidevas, if there is a remedy, or sometimes it says if it's remediable, why be unhappy about it? If there's no remedy, what is the point in being unhappy? This is very powerful. Most of the time, we really worry about things that hasn't happened. And I think that there's this depression and anxiety. One is because you ruminate over the past incidents. You think about things that already happened. There's nothing you can do about it, but you want to ruminate, and then you fall into depression. And then another kind of people who really want to, worry so much in advance, and then they develop anxiety, this disorder. So if you are able to practice this one stanza, it is so powerful. When I lost my father to cancer, this really helped me. I was very close with my father because my mother died when I was very young, So somehow, I was very close with my father. There were times where I was like, if anything happens to my father, how am I going to cope it? But then, yeah, of course, because he had cancer, in a way, when he had this one, it kind of helped me to prepare for that. If it was a certain death, then it would have been very challenging. But because it's a kind of slow, degeneration or whatever you call, so you are kind of prepared for that. And then every now and then when I feel, I use this, it's very, very good. And then one time there were times like, after everything finished, then you started to wonder, because we believe in reincarnation. So you wonder, where would he be born? Then you start to think. And then, then one time, why am I thinking about this? When everybody have been your father. So if I want to think, then I would be thinking of everybody else who dies. This because I have this, and because my father was my father in this very lifetime. So that's why I'm thinking about it. But when you think in a broader way, everybody has been my father. So I should be really, thinking about other people as well, which I'm not doing. So that really helped me. And then after that, I kind of stopped thinking about, wondering about his rebirth. Okay, we are concluding. His time is up, isn't it? Ooh. Okay. Okay, so I think I won't go into detail. So it's basically now is that about the good qualities of suffering. It's funny, isn't it, when you talk about the qualities of suffering. So you wonder, what are the qualities? But there are a lot of qualities. Reflecting on the good qualities of suffering. Because of suffering, it urges us to strive for emancipation from samsara. That's why Bodhisattvas always make prayers to be born in human realm. Because if you were in Deva realm, it is so pleasant, everything is so nice, so perfect. There is never a chance to generate renunciation. Without renunciation, no way to achieve liberation and enlightenment. So suffering this, because we suffer, we want to be out of that. That's when, renunciation occurs. And then suffering eliminates conceit. When you are suffering, although you don't be, arrogant and all that. You somehow, we always say, oh, that person, he used to be egoistic, and now look at him, you see, when he's sick and all this, certainly, very, very nice person. Suffering causes us to be careful about negative karma. So that is, of course, provided that we understand the cause. When we understand the cause of suffering, that it is because it is the result of our negative actions, then we will be more careful. Suffering makes us have a strong desire for happiness, definitely. When we suffer, only then, we want to be happy, we want to free from the suffering. So when this is basically when we are challenged with difficulties, so maybe try to find ways to use it in a positive way. Then finally enables developing compassion for others, because if you don't have direct experience of suffering, there's no way you will be able to perceive others' suffering. This is called empathy. When you don't have this actual experience, so you cannot empathize with other person. So right now we empathize with other person in an effective aspect. So that's because we have this experience. Otherwise, it is like completely, there are people who are, I think they are psychopath or sociopath or whatever. So they don't have this emotion. So when other person suffers, there is no such thing as mirroring the suffering. So they don't feel anything. They don't really understand. Advantages of bearing suffering. That is mainly, I won't go into detail. Basically, you remember contemplating on the long-term goal. So that's why we go for all kinds of immunization. We bear all that because we see the purpose, we see the goal, we see the long-term benefit. So that's why we are willing to put up with the temporary hardship. This mere suffering, this is the stanza from Shantideva's book. This mere suffering is not painful, since it accomplishes the great goal of eliminating the misery harming living beings. Suffering is something about which to be joyful. So of course this is Bodhisattva's perspective. Bodhisattvas are aiming to achieve enlightenment. So in order to achieve that, to strive towards that, you may find, you may come across, or you may encounter difficulties and challenges. So when you think of, oh, this is for greater good, so we are willing to put up with the challenges. Isn't it fortunate if a man condemned to death is released with just an amputated hand? Isn't it wonderful that accepting human suffering frees you from the suffering of hell? So if you accept the suffering, you are able to put effort. And then it is like this person. If the person is to die, but suddenly there is a change and somebody pardons him with just amputation, he would be so grateful. Likewise, he said we should think this way. And then why do we do all this practice? It is that because there is nothing at all that does not become easier through practice. Sorry, there's a T, double extra T. Therefore, from accepting small problems, you will be able to bear great difficulties. We always say that practice makes perfect. So if you are able to endure small hardships, that is actually true. Those people who have experienced so much difficulties, especially the Tibetan peoples who first came to India, so there, when it comes to enduring hardship, they are much more tolerant of any hardship compared to younger generation, to my generation. And if we compare my generation with nowadays generation, there will be a difference. So after all this, thinking about this, instead of getting angry at other sentient beings, we should, in the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is the best teacher. We should develop compassion, and we should view others as our best teacher. Because only enemy can help us perfect patience. Not even our teacher, not even our friends, not in our relatives. Only the enemy can make us practice. Or let's put it this way, only our enemy provides opportunity to practice patience. So in that sense, we should view our enemy as our best teacher. The plan is for me to cover all this before next week, coming week, isn't it? Geshe-la covers on the topic of wisdom. But it is so vast that I couldn't. But we will continue after this. So remember, please, next week, Geshe-la is going to teach via Skype. So he is going to teach on the chapter of wisdom. I feel that I won't be able to do justice to this chapter, wisdom chapter, where it talks about Geshe-la will, I think, touch on the tenets as well, and then he will slowly, I guess, lead to the the concept of emptiness and all that. So Geshe-la, if you don't know, he is really a great teacher. If I were you, I wouldn't miss this opportunity. So please remember that. Mark your calendar. Thank you very much.
So we should say the dedication.
Yes,
prayer,
please.
Starting with the short mandala offering, first, and then the concluding prayer.